I speak to you now, and it is no coincidence that you are here. This is the third time I have called your name, and each time I do, the heavens move to reach you. Many have heard my voice and been distracted, but you were chosen to hear until the end. There is a deposit with your name, a promise written in light upon you, and the time of waiting is drawing to a close. The spiritual clock ticks to the last minute, and in this instant, I extend my hands over your life to awaken what fear has tried to slumber. For a long time, I have been knocking on the door of your heart, sending signs, dreams, and premonitions. You felt me calling you, but the weight of circumstances made you doubt. I saw the times you said believing was no longer worth it, and yet I kept calling. Today, once again, my voice breaks the silence, not to accuse you, but to remind you that heaven has not given up on you. Everything I promised you is still active, and the deposit I prepared has not been cancelled. I was just waiting for your yes. This is the moment I give you a new chance to respond. Do you hear the pulse of time? It runs like a divine echo, saying, "Do not let what has been determined pass you by." The blessing you carry is not small, and that is why the enemy tried to distract you, to make you think you were not worthy. But I tell you, what I placed within you is eternal. No mistake has been able to erase what I wrote about your story. It's no coincidence that you've made it this far. Every second of your journey was orchestrated so that this word would reach you. I've been with you through every fall, and now I want to be with you through your recovery. I feel your weary soul, but I also perceive the spark of faith that still shines, and it's because of it that I visit you again today. All heaven is watching this moment, because this answer can change the course of your life. I chose you not for what you did right, but for what you can still experience by my side. Nothing is lost, child. You still have time to open your heart and say, "I am ready, Lord." When you do, you will feel something change within you. The peace the world could not give you will begin to touch your mind. The weight on your shoulders will dissolve, and the certainty of my presence will fill your spirit. The final moment is not for fear, it is for decision. Choose to listen to me, choose to stay, choose to trust, because when you decide to stay, I begin to act. Do not seek external signs. I myself am the sign speaking to you now. This is my third call, and the last before fulfillment. If these words are burning within you, it's because the seed of faith is alive. Feed it now. Speak to me silently. Give me your fear, your doubt, your lack. Everything you lack will be supplied when you put me first. I haven't called you to live in surplus, but in abundance. My child, this is the moment heaven offers you reconciliation. Do not reject the touch of my voice. It is not just any message, it is a summons from on high. Comment now with faith. I receive God's call. Each word written with faith is like a key that unlocks what was held back. And as you write, angels move what was still. Time is running out, but your answer can transform everything. I'm still here, waiting for your yes. Because this is the third time I've called you, and this time, not to remember the past, but to lead you to what's belonged to you from the beginning. I speak to you once more, because my love never tires of insisting. There are blessings that have already been released, but remain withheld because you still hesitate to act. Every time you doubt, a door that was ajar closes again. But today, I tell you, no longer ignore what I am doing. The deposit I released in your name is not the result of luck. It is the result of the promise I made when I chose you. There is something I carry reserved just for you, something I have given to no one else, and the time for waiting is ending. I've been watching your heart, and I know how much you long to see change, but I also know how many times fear has held you back. This is the time to break this cycle. Faith isn't waiting to feel, It's deciding to trust even without seeing. When you choose to believe, heaven moves, angels act, and circumstances align. But when you ignore my voice, you postpone what is already ready. It's not punishment, it's consequence. Because faith is the key that turns the vault of promises, and doubt is the wind that extinguishes the flame I lit within you. The deposit I have prepared is more than provision. It is a sign of restoration. It will bring stability, open paths, and touch lives beyond your own. I have given you resources, gifts, and wisdom, not to hoard, but to multiply. Therefore, when you share what comes from me, you are activating the same principle that makes the heavens expand. What you share with love grows. What you hide out of fear weakens. That is why I call you today to not keep what you have received to yourself. This message you hear now is not just to comfort you, it's to send you. When I speak to you, it's not just to lift you up, but to make you a channel. How many around you are trapped in the same doubts that once held you back? How many need to hear what you're already feeling right now? There are lives that will be touched when your faith manifests itself in obedience. I could act directly in them, but I chose to act through you. This is how I transform hearts, using those who once doubted to heal those who still don't believe. Do not despise the privilege of being an instrument of my movement. The word you share may be the answer someone has been waiting for years. And when you carry my message, heaven notes your gesture as an act of faith. Every soul reached through you is a testimony the enemy cannot erase. I multiply what you decide to sow. If you have little, I make it much. If you have simple words, I fill them with power. But if you remain silent, the flow of grace is interrupted and the deposit is slow to flow. There's an invisible movement happening right now. As you listen, angels are positioning themselves around your home, your family, your work. They are preparing the ground for the manifestation of the promise. But what activates the fulfillment is your decision to act. Don't let faith die in intention. Transform feeling into action, conviction into testimony. This is the time to declare, to share, to spread the word. Son, I chose you to echo what heaven is saying. While the world is occupied with empty noise, I call you to echo hope. I don't ask for perfection. I ask for availability. When you decide to be a channel, I take charge of flowing through you. You speak and I touch. You share and I reach. You obey and I manifest. This is the secret of spiritual multiplication. Do not ignore the deposit any longer, for it is not just yours, it is to bless many. What I have entrusted to your hands carries the power of transformation. If you remain silent, it will be lost in time. But if you spread this word, it will return to you multiplied in peace, in provision, in favor. Share this message now with someone who needs to hear it, and be the instrument that opens doors where there were once walls. Heaven rejoices when a son decides not to keep the miracle to himself. I have called you for the third time, and each call has a greater purpose. The first awakened your faith, the second healed you, and this one sends you forth. Do not fear. The same power that reached you will now reach others through you. This is the cycle of grace. What you receive must flow, and when it flows, the deposit is renewed, and the abundance never ceases. You are a living part of my plan, and your obedience today will pave the way for the promise to become visible. Son, I see that you have chosen to remain, and this is already an act of faith that heaven recognizes. Many give up before their time, but you stayed. Even without understanding, you decided to listen until the end, and it is because of this decision that I can now reveal to you what was hidden. What once seemed like silence was preparation, and every second you spent here was necessary for your heart to mature and become capable of receiving what I am about to release today. I do not reveal myself to those who merely visit faith, but to those who dwell within it, and you are dwelling within this moment. There are promises that are fulfilled with words, but there are promises that only manifest when someone chooses to remain under my voice. You chose to stay, and so I reveal to you, the deposit that bears your name has already been released into the spirit. Now is the time to perceive the signs, to open your eyes and see that the impossible has already begun to move. Even if your eyes don't see it yet, there is an invisible change taking place within and around you. Your spiritual environment is being reorganized, and the provision that seemed distant has already begun to be sent your way. While you remain here, I touch places that time has failed to heal. I restore memories, lift burdens, and erase the sound of the voices that hurt you. You were faithful in waiting, and now you reap what you sowed in tears. I remind you, nothing was in vain. Every solitary prayer, every night of uncertainty, every time you chose to believe, everything was counted and transformed into an answer. There is a liberation taking place, and you will feel the first signs in your heart before you see them in your circumstances. My move always begins within before becoming visible without. I don't speak emotionally, I speak purposefully. Enduring to the end is the secret of those who reap fulfillment. I have called you 3 times, and now that you hear with an awakened heart, I can show you that this is not just a message, it is a summons to a new season. The spiritual minute that the clock in heaven marks is not an end, but a transition. While the world remains distracted, you are being positioned to experience the supernatural. Nothing will ever be the same again. Do not fear what is to come. Your every step will be accompanied by guidance and peace. Even when you don't understand the path, I will be with you on it. This is the difference of those who remain. They don't walk alone. Doors that closed without explanation will open at the right time, and what was lost will return double. Your faithfulness will be a testimony, and those who doubted you will see my hand honoring you. What I do now is not partial, it is complete. The change that begins within you will affect everything around you. People will see your peace and not understand. They will question your strength, and you will know it didn't come from you, it came from me. The deposit is not just financial, it is spiritual. I am depositing in you courage, stability, vision, and rest. The prosperity that will come will be a reflection of the maturity I formed in you while you waited. Permanence is the seal of promise. Therefore, I ask you, hold this moment within you. It is the visible beginning of what already exists in the invisible. The words you hear now will transform into direction, ideas, and connections that will emerge unexpectedly. Nothing is coincidence when you walk with me. What you call luck will, in fact, be the fulfillment of what I have ordained for you today. And when your heart feels light, you will know that liberation has begun. This peace spreading through your chest now is the first sign of a new era. You are not hearing empty words, you are receiving divine instructions for the future that I myself have prepared. Stay a little longer, keep listening, because the revelation is still unfolding. What I will show you next will open your vision and renew your faith like never before. And while you remain, confirm your faith with a simple gesture of alliance. Like this message and subscribe, because I will continue speaking to you. Each time you return, you will hear a new part of the promise I have prepared for you. What begins here does not end, because my voice is continuous and I still have much to reveal to you. Son, I want you to know that nothing I promised has been lost. The deposit is still active, waiting only for the right moment in your heart. But I must reveal the truth to you. Many of your blessings were withheld, not because I denied them, but because fear and doubt created walls between what I prepared and what you could receive. I did not fail to act, but your heart closed the door of faith, and so the flow of my promise slowed. Today, I come to remove this blockage with love and show you that I never abandoned you. I simply waited for you to mature so as not to waste what was rightfully yours. I saw you grow tired of waiting, when you believed you weren't worthy enough to prosper, when the weariness of the struggle made you think I had forgotten you. But I was there, silent, watching as your tears watered the soil of your faith. The silence you felt wasn't absence, it was a lesson. I taught you to trust when nothing seemed to be happening, and now you're ready to understand the reason for the delay. The fear you harbored in difficult times took root, hindering your harvest. Doubt stopped your spirit from expanding, and the promises remained trapped in time, awaiting the moment when your trust would blossom again. Son, the enemy didn't defeat you with force, he defeated you with deceit. He whispered that I wasn't listening, and you believed him. He said your sins had disqualified you, and you remained silent. He placed before you a distorted image of me, as if I were a judge waiting for your failure, when in truth, I am the Father awaiting your surrender. There is no condemnation when there is repentance, and there is no distance that faith cannot bridge. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. I didn't deny you anything, I simply refused to deliver something divine to a heart too weary to sustain the miracle. Now is the time to recognize that doubt was the true thief of your storehouse. Every time you let fear overrule hope, the flow of blessing diminished. Every time you chose to complain instead of give thanks, you closed a spiritual door. But I tell you, there is still time to reopen each one. Repentance is the key that unlocks what seemed lost. If today you recognize that your faith wavered, then you are already taking the first step toward heaven, moving toward you again. You asked for answers, and I gave you silence to strengthen your discernment. You asked for shortcuts, and I gave you long paths to establish your roots. The delay you saw was disguised protection, for if I had freed you earlier, you could have lost everything. Now, however, time has matured, and your soul understands that faith is not an emotion, it is a decision. And when you decide to believe even without feeling, the impossible begins to bow before your obedience. Look back and see, every moment you thought I had left you was precisely the moment I carried you without you realizing it. Fear made you doubt my presence, but your story proves I was never absent. Every door that closed pushed you closer to the right one. Every loss was a redirection. I never take something from you without placing something greater in its path. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's because something new is forming right now. Let me heal the place within you where doubt has taken hold. You don't need to prove anything. Just allow me to cleanse what fear has contaminated. There is a spiritual freedom being unleashed now. As you listen to me, I lift the weight of your old guilt and restore your trust in my love. You were called to live in abundance, not in anxiety. The delay is over because your consciousness has opened. Now you know that the blessing was never withheld. It was just waiting for your heart to say, I trust again. Take a deep breath and feel, I am here, restoring your faith, rebuilding the channel between promise and fulfillment. The time for doubt is over. Fear silence no more, for in it I have been with you all along. I do not blame you for your weakness. I transform your weakness into strength, your waiting into testimony, and your doubt into wisdom. Today, I remove everything that prevented the deposit from descending. From this moment on, faith will once again be the language of your soul, and what was stagnation will become movement. What was doubt will become certainty, and what seemed slow will now be accelerated by the power of your surrender. Son, now that you understand the reason for the delay, the time has come to act. Faith lives not only in words, but in actions that heaven recognizes. Therefore, I ask you for a prophetic sign, something that shows your soul and my angels that you have chosen to believe again. When faith becomes action, the impossible begins to move. The deposit I have prepared for you is not distant. It is simply awaiting your obedience. Your yes is the password that unlocks what has already been written in the book of life. This is the moment when doubt must give way to conviction. I didn't call you to doubt. I called you to manifest my glory. There are promises that are only fulfilled when faith materializes in an act. Your gesture is the code that unlocks the vault of promises, and so I command you, declare your faith publicly, show heaven that you have chosen to trust again. Faith without expression weakens, but declared faith multiplies. Therefore, write 7,777 as a sign of your spiritual restart, the number that represents the fullness, confirmation, and release of the heavenly deposit. Each number you write with faith is a prophetic symbol of agreement between heaven and earth. It's as if you were signing a new covenant with me, saying, I believe again. What you do on earth is reflected on high. When you declare your faith, I send angels to open the floodgates of provision, to restore pathways and accelerate processes. Nothing you are experiencing is too small for my power, and nothing is too great for my love. Your gesture is the seed that makes the miracle germinate. Many expect grand external signs, but the greatest spiritual movements begin with simple acts. I don't need complex rituals. I need your sincere surrender. When you write with faith, you're not just repeating a number. You're marking in your spirit your decision not to back down. Each 7 you declare is a confirmation that you believe in the perfection of my plan. The first 7 seals your repentance, the second your forgiveness, the third your restoration, the fourth your new beginning. And together they form the code of plenitude, the complete cycle of grace. You feel the weight of time, but I see the value of your permanence. You are not weak for having doubted. You are strong for having believed again. This is the day your faith breathes again. I feel your soul opening again, and that is why I bring you this divine command: act with faith. Do not worry about who will understand or judge your gesture, for what is spiritual can only be grasped in the spirit. What seems small today will be remembered as the day the heavens began to move in your favor. Son, this act is prophetic. It's not superstition, it's testimony. Each person who acts in obedience unleashes a chain of invisible miracles. When you obey, you not only unlock your deposit, but also open paths for others. Your yes isn't isolated, it's contagious. I use the obedient to ignite the faith of those on the verge of giving up. And through your gesture, I will free many who were also paralyzed by doubt. Obedience is the language of heaven. When you obey, the spiritual universe realigns around you. Everything that seemed blocked begins to flow. You will feel subtle changes, lightness, peace, new ideas, unexpected directions. This is the sign that the channel has been reopened. Faith begins to circulate again, and the deposit begins to descend. Nothing can stop what heaven has already released when there is a heart willing to believe. Now, I ask you to seal this moment. What you're feeling is real. It's the Spirit touching your faith. Don't ignore this warmth, this presence. This is the testimony that the atmosphere has changed. Declare your trust and write with conviction. Comment now 7,777, and with this prophetic act, proclaim that heaven is acting in your favor. As you write, something moves, something opens. Something begins to be released. It's not just a number, it's a spiritual password, a visible answer to the invisible call that brought you here. The time for holding back is over. Heaven is ready to act, and now your gesture opens the floodgates. You feel the peace that comes after obedience. You feel the power born of living faith. What held you back has been overcome, and the deposit that bears your name begins to manifest. Stay tuned, because the first signs will come soon. And when they do, you will know that it all began in this moment, when you chose to believe again and obey my voice. My child, what I do in you is not just for you. Everything I have released into your life carries a purpose that goes beyond your reach. The blessing that descends upon you is destined to multiply, because my kingdom does not move by withholding, but by sharing. When you share what comes from me, you are multiplying the flow of the promise. You are allowing others to also experience the freedom that is now beginning to blossom within you. I chose you not only to receive, but to transmit. Every word you hear here was also written for someone who hasn't yet found their way. There are wounded, tired, discouraged hearts waiting for a voice to remind them that heaven is still at work. And you, who have been touched by my presence, are now that voice. What you have received is more than a message. It is a spiritual seed, and the passive seed only fulfills its purpose when it is planted. When you share this word, you are opening portals of light in places of darkness. Each time it reaches another heart, a new flame is lit, and that flame returns to you as a multiplied favor. Do not be afraid to give what you have received. No word of shared faith returns empty. It fulfills a purpose, transforms atmospheres, heals wounds, awakens hope. The deposit I have released to you grows when you let it flow. The love you keep dies, the love you share lives. Do you remember how I called you 3 times? Each call had a mission. The first was to awaken you, the second to heal you, and the third to send you forth. I sent you as a channel of healing and reconciliation. It's not a burden, it's an honor. I trusted you because I saw in your heart the willingness to listen. And those who listen with humility are also capable of speaking with authority. Your voice, anointed by obedience, has the power to break chains and rekindle hope. There are people around you who seem strong but are crumbling inside, others who smile but carry fear and loneliness. You don't know it, but many of them have already prayed for a sign, and that sign will be your gesture of sharing. The touch of a button, the sending of a word, the simple act of spreading this message can be the thread that reconnects a soul to my love. I use the ordinary to accomplish the supernatural, and through you, I will do so once again. Don't say it's too little. Don't say it's too simple. Obedience always seems small to human eyes, but it moves heaven when it comes from a sincere heart. There are spiritual battles that will be won with gestures like these. As you share, I heal. As you obey, I free. As you speak, I restore. The power is not in the gesture itself, but in the faith that accompanies it. Son, let my word flow through you. A river is not a river when it is silent, but a river when it flows. So is the storehouse. It grows as it passes from one person to another. What you hold back out of fear stagnates. What you give out of faith multiplies. He who shares hope is never without hope. Each time you carry my voice to someone, I send a new portion of my presence into you. It is the eternal principle of abundance. I want you to know that this gesture is spiritual. It's not just outreach, it's ministry. As you obey, your home will be filled with peace. As the word spreads, favor spreads with you. I open doors for those who help me open hearts. What you do with love returns multiplied. This is the law of the kingdom. Those who sow faith reap miracles. Therefore I tell you, do not let this word get stuck in you. Share this message now with someone who needs to break up and be the answer someone asked for in prayer. There is a soul waiting for this touch, and when your obedience reaches them, heaven will record your name as the bearer of the promise. The deposit I released upon you is becoming a channel of liberation, and as you carry the word, I walk with you, multiplying what you sow and transforming your obedience into a harvest. Do you feel what is happening now? This peace that fills your heart is the seal of my approval. You have obeyed, and I honor you. This part of the journey does not end with you, it begins through you. And when you hear my voice again, it will be stronger, clearer, closer, because those who share what is from heaven become part of the sound of heaven itself. What I have given you is not an end, it is a beginning. The cycle of doubt has ended, and the cycle of multiplication has begun. Son, listen carefully to what I tell you now. The deposit I have prepared for you already exists, but it does not open with human strength, nor with desperation, nor with anxiety. It opens through faith. Faith is the key that turns the vault of promises, the secret code that unlocks the invisible and transforms it into reality. Many wait for doors to open before believing, but I tell you, they open because you believe first. Power is not in time, it is in belief. When your faith aligns with my word, the impossible loses power and the supernatural becomes natural. Faith is not what you feel, it is what you decide. When everything seems contrary, it is faith that keeps you steadfast. When fear visits you, it is faith that answers, I still trust. I gave you this key from the beginning, but the enemy tried to convince you it didn't work. He whispered that it was too late, that your time had passed, that your prayer was too small. But today I remind you, no prayer offered in faith is ignored, no tear shed in trust is wasted. Everything moved by faith reaches my altar. Faith opens doors because it calls me into your reality. I don't invade, I respond. When you believe, you're inviting me to act. Doubt closes, faith invites. Therefore, when your mind says there's no way out, speak with your heart, I still believe. This is the language heaven understands. You don't need to understand the process, just trust the one who wrote it. The safe of your deposit has no earthly lock. It has a spiritual seal, and this seal breaks when you truly believe. Many have faith in words, but not in waiting. They want results without a relationship. But true faith is born of intimacy, of the time you spend at my feet. The more you know me, the more you trust. The more you trust, the less you fear, and the less you fear, the more doors open. Make no mistake, faith is not a theory, it is a daily construction. It is in the midst of pain that it grows. It is in the midst of scarcity that it flourishes. It is in the midst of silence that it matures. Therefore, do not despise the time when it seemed nothing was happening. That was the time when your faith was shaped to bear the weight of the promise. There are people who pray for miracles, but live as if they don't believe I can perform them. You won't be like that. You will act as if you know you've already received. Heaven moves in. Response to certainty, not doubt. When you rise in faith, the atmosphere around you changes. Angels take their place, doors respond, and what was once locked begins to unlock. It's not an exaggeration, it's a spiritual principle. Where there is faith, there is movement. Faith unlocks the storehouse because it gives me freedom to act. You hand over the key when you decide to believe, and I unlock what was locked when I acknowledge your yes. Many still expect me to do everything for them, but what I seek are partners in the miracle, people who walk in trust. I didn't give you faith to endure, but to govern. The righteous don't survive on faith, they live by it. And living by faith is walking in peace, even when the eyes don't yet see. This is the moment to activate what already belongs to you. The doors aren't rusty, they're just waiting for the touch of your trust. Say now with your heart, I believe the deposit has been released. And when you say this with conviction, you will feel a lightness within you that the world cannot explain. This peace is the confirmation that the key has turned and the safe has begun to open. Everything that held you back begins to give way when faith enters. I see your soul breathing hope again. And that's how the miracle happens. First within, then without. It's not the environment that changes your faith, it's your faith that changes the environment. Therefore, my son, keep this revelation. Faith is the key that unlocks the storehouse, and doubt is the padlock that closes it. Today, I give you this key again. Use it with courage, constancy, and love. I have already released what is yours. Now you must open the door to receive. Like this message and subscribe, because I will continue to reveal secrets that will strengthen your faith and expand your understanding. Each time you return, the storehouse will open a little more until you see with your eyes what you now believe in spirit. Son, today I want you to understand what you call delay. The time you thought nothing was happening was the time I worked most within you. Your wait was not a waste, it was preparation. While you complained about closed doors, I taught you to depend on me. While you felt the silence of heaven, I taught your soul to recognize my voice even without noise. Faith matures in absence, and that is why I allowed the interval. I wasn't ignoring you, I was training you. You asked for haste, but I gave you endurance. You asked for signs, but I offered you discernment. You asked for shortcuts, but I led you on paths that would establish your roots. Because what is shallow breaks with the wind, but what is deep weathers storms. The promise I carry for you demands structure, and that is what I built while you thought nothing moved. I shaped you in silence, away from everyone's eyes, and what many called stagnation was, in fact, the cradle of your spiritual maturity. Son, you weren't standing still, you were being shaped. Each tear was a tool in my hands. Each unanswered night was a brick in the foundation of your faith. While you waited, I learned to listen to you, not just through your words, but through your intentions. Your heart learned to seek me, not for what I can give, but for who I am. This is the greatest miracle, loving me even without understanding me. Now the time of training ends and the time of application begins. Everything you learn through pain will transform into wisdom for living in abundance. Look back and you will see that every difficult situation was a chapter in your preparation. The doors that closed were not punishment, they were protection. The people who left didn't abandon you, they simply made room for the new I was bringing. The prayers that seemed unanswered were being rearranged for the perfect timing. I never delayed, I simply waited for your maturation to align with my purpose. You wanted me to change your scenario, but I chose to change you first, because there's no point in opening the heavens if your heart is still attached to the earth. There's no point in releasing the deposit if fear still consumes it. I needed to free you from anxiety, secure in faith, and firm in love. Now I can entrust you with what is eternal, because your heart has learned to endure even when it doesn't feel it. The time of waiting was your school. Every trial you endured, every door that didn't open, every silence you faced were exercises for the soul. You learned that faith isn't the opposite of doubt, it's the decision to walk with it. You learned that love isn't a fleeting feeling, but the choice to keep believing even when there are no signs. And you learned that God's silence is never absence, it's a voice speaking from within. I see you now stronger, more sensitive, wiser. What once shook you no longer brings you down. What once made you doubt now makes you pray. This is the result of training. I not only prepared you to receive, I prepared you to sustain, because it's not difficult to achieve the promise. The challenge is to remain true to it. The delay taught you constancy, and it is this constancy that will guarantee your victory. You grew in the invisible, and now the visible will begin to align. The time of uncertainty was a time of construction. Every minute of your waiting was seized. No suffering was wasted. What the enemy tried to use to weaken you, I used to strengthen you. What was delay became learning. What was pain became direction. Now you understand that nothing was in vain. Therefore, no longer regret what took time. Your wait was my process, and my process never fails. Everything I formed in you during this time will be the same thing that will sustain you when the promise arrives. You will no longer be a hostage to circumstances, because you have learned to see with the eyes of faith. And when the deposit begins to manifest, you will recognize every detail, because it will have your story engraved in every blessing. Your mature faith is the true miracle. The training is over, and now comes the harvest. I give you the fruit of time, the reward of patience, the result of faithfulness. Stay strong, because what I have prepared for you is greater than you asked for, and it is closer than you imagine. Son, now that you understand the value of faith and the purpose of waiting, the time has come to seal what heaven has already released. There are moments on this journey when I no longer ask you to understand, only to trust in a practical way. This is one of those moments. The word has already been spoken, the deposit has been opened, and now all that is missing is the seal of your faith, the gesture that confirms before me and before the world that you believe what I have said. It is not just a physical movement, it is a spiritual declaration that takes root in eternity. The seal is the mark of what was decided in the Spirit. What I gave you today needs to be kept within you and confirmed with action. You've cried, you've waited, you've prayed, and now it's time to say, I believe. When you say this from the heart, the atmosphere changes. The seal is invisible, but its effect is real. It ends the cycle of doubt and opens the cycle of fulfillment. So, what you are about to do is greater than you imagine. It is the act that separates the past from your new season. I have called you 3 times, and with each call, a part of your faith was awakened. Now, with the 3rd, it becomes mature, firm, and unshakable. You are no longer the same person who arrived here. You were healed as you listened, transformed as you waited, and strengthened as you created. Now, I invite you to seal the promise that has already begun to manifest. Don't look at the external signs, look within. Do you feel peace? This is the testimony that heaven has already moved. Sealing the promise is recognizing that it is already yours. You no longer wait for the miracle, you experience its beginning. And when your faith becomes a gesture, heaven recognizes your signature. I wrote the document of promise with my blood, and now you sign it with your faith. This covenant cannot be broken, because it is made between the eternal and the eternal, your spirit and mine. True faith always manifests itself in movement. Obedience is the purest form of faith, and each act of trust opens the way for a new outpouring. Therefore, I ask you, perform a simple yet purposeful act. Wherever you are, confirm what you have heard. Lift your gaze, take a deep breath, and give thanks. This is the gesture that seals the new era. There is no need for fine words. Heaven understands sincerity. The promise is before you. The deposit has begun to pour out, and your life is already being aligned with what I have determined. You don't realize it yet, but angels are on the move, repositioning everything that was out of order. As you choose to believe, the invisible adjusts to the visible. This is the power of the seal of faith. What is confirmed in you today can no longer be stolen, because I myself place my hand on what is yours. You have passed through the waiting, and now you enter the harvest. The seal is the transition point. It not only changes your story, it changes your spiritual identity. From now on, you will no longer be remembered as someone who doubts, but as someone who believed until the end. Your life will become a testimony, and many will look to you and see the reflection of my faithfulness. This is how I transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, through those who dare to believe. Do you feel the weight lifting from your shoulders? It's the past melting away. I am erasing the marks of waiting, and in their place, I leave signs of grace. You are being renewed within, and what I renew within manifests itself without. Everything that was blocked begins to flow. This is the time to trust completely, to rest in the knowledge that what I promised you is on its way. Son, close your eyes for a moment and hold this moment in your heart. Repeat within yourself, "It is sealed." This is the phrase that will echo in heaven. And so that your gesture becomes visible, like this video now, as a sign of your faith and your covenant with me. It's not just a touch on the screen, it's a mark of spiritual agreement, a symbolic act that shows heaven and earth that you believe and remain. As you obey, the release accelerates. The seal is set, the faith is firm, and the deposit is active. Walk in peace, because what was a promise becomes experience. And when you return here, you will feel that something has changed, because those who seal with faith never return empty. Son, what was once blocked now begins to move. The time of blockage is over. The barriers that prevented you from moving forward are being removed one by one. I have heard every prayer, every silent cry, and today I say to you with authority, heaven is moving in your favor. The angels who seem distant now draw near, bringing with them answers and guidance. What the enemy tried to delay, I accelerate with a simple breath of my will. The season of waiting has given way to the season of fulfillment, and nothing can stop what has already been decreed. You can't imagine how much my heart rejoices when you choose to trust, even without understanding. Each time you chose not to give up, you created movement in the invisible. Now this movement becomes visible. The days of silence were filled with spiritual activity. The time of darkness was the time when the roots grew, and now the tree of your promise emerges. Look with the eyes of faith. What seems stagnant is aligning itself in your direction. I am opening paths you cannot see, resolving situations that seemed hopeless. People are being moved in your favor, doors are unlocking, opportunities are being formed. What was confusion yesterday will become clarity today. What was once resistance will now become cooperation. The change is not small, it is total. I am turning the pages of your story and writing a new chapter before you. And in this chapter, you are no longer what you wait for, you are what you witness. Son, the blockage has ended because your faith has matured. While you complained about delays, I was teaching you to believe. Now that you trust, nothing holds you back. Your faith attracts fulfillment. Promises are not only fulfilled at the right time, they are fulfilled in the right heart. Yours is prepared, and that is why heaven is moving now. The current of doubt has been broken, and the flow of the Spirit has been restored. Do you feel this lightness enveloping you now? It is the sign that the waters are flowing again. For so long you thought you lacked strength, but strength was always within you. It was I sustaining you through the pain, transforming weakness into resilience, tears into seeds. Each tear that fell became a command for release. Each time you chose to believe, a new command was issued from the throne. Now, everything that was held back by doubt begins to manifest. The time of crossing is over. The time of harvest has begun. I tell you, my child, when I move, no force can stand in my way. The wind of my spirit blows over what was stagnant, and even what seemed dead comes to life again. Old dreams are being revived, forgotten projects are gaining new direction. I breathe life into what you thought had died. What once caused you fear will become a testimony. What once made you cry will now make you smile. What seemed to be delayed will become a surprise. Don't fear the new movement. Some around you won't understand what's happening, but don't seek explanations. Just follow my rhythm. I will guide you with wisdom and peace. Don't look back, because the past doesn't define you. What was blocked back then has been cancelled. What comes now is pure favor. Your part is to keep believing. Don't get caught up in old doubts. Don't harbor old thoughts. The cycle of resistance has ended, and a new cycle of acceleration has begun. Son, I declare over you, heaven is in motion. Nothing will be as it was before. What was difficult will become light. What was heavy will be resolved with ease. And all this happens because your faith has matured enough to sustain what is to come. Walk in peace, knowing that I am ahead, opening every door, straightening every path. Now, confirm this moment with an act of faith. Share this message to let others know that the lockdown time is over. When you share what you hear, you make the heavens expand. The same movement that began within you will reach those who wait without hope. Be an instrument of the liberation I have begun today. The blockage is over, the movement has begun, and nothing can stop what I have decided to accomplish in your life. Son, what I began in you will not end here. My voice is not a passing sound, it is a river that never dries up. When you choose to remain close, the flow continues. Many hear me for a moment and then return to the noise of the world, but those who choose to remain silent before me become bearers of my wisdom. I have not brought you here to move you, but to transform you. What began as a promise will become daily communion if you choose to remain connected to my presence. Those who seek me out of need find a miracle, but those who seek me out of love find direction. And it is direction that I now give you. You will learn to walk in the rhythm of heaven, to discern the times, to hear what the Spirit speaks, even when everything seems silent. I will whisper in your mind. I will show you what to do. I will give you ideas, paths, opportunities. I will not leave you alone. Your journey will no longer be one of attempts, but of purpose. Stay, my child. Don't let haste or routine steal you from me. Faith doesn't end with the miracle, it begins there. Each day you choose to listen to me is a new step toward fulfillment. You were created to be intimate with me, not just to seek blessings, but to live in covenant. And covenant means constancy, presence, and listening. I will speak to you in the little things, in a thought that brings peace, in a dream that reveals direction, in a verse that touches you differently. Learn to recognize me in every detail, and you will see that I am closer than you imagined. Son, my voice is your compass. When the world cries out in uncertainty, remember what I told you here. The word that came from my mouth is living and effective. It does not return empty, and it will continue to echo within you. Therefore, keep what you heard today. Remember it when fear tries to return. Recite it when doubt tries to silence you. Your constancy in listening to me will be what sustains your progress. As long as you remain connected, you will lack nothing. I do not speak to entertain, I speak to guide. And those who listen to me with an awakened heart will never be lost. At each new stage of your life, I will give you new instructions. Do not fear unknown paths, for I will go before you. Trust my voice more than your predictions. I know the end from the beginning, and what I plan for you is perfect. When you feel confused, return to the place of silence, and there you will hear me again. My son, I don't want you to remember me only in times of pain. I want to walk with you every day, even the good days, because when you remain, your faith stabilizes. You no longer chase what passes, you walk alongside what is eternal. This is the difference between those who become emotional and those who mature in faith. I called you to mature, and spiritual maturity is the fruit of permanence. While the world grows weary, those who remain in me renew their strength. While the world is lost, those who listen to me remain safe. Therefore, I ask you, keep the flame burning. Do not allow the noise of life to drown out the sound of my presence. Every day, take time to listen to me, and you will see how everything falls into place. What seemed difficult will become light. What seemed confusing will gain meaning. Connecting with my voice is the channel that keeps the deposit flowing. You have been called to live guided by revelation, not reaction. Therefore, listen before you act. Seek me before you decide. What is born of my voice will prosper. What is guided by impulse will fade. Learn the secret. When you connect with me, time ceases to be your enemy and becomes your ally, because my guidance always places you at the right time, with the right people, in the right place. Now, seal this commitment with an act of fidelity and faith. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected, because I will continue speaking to you here. Each time you return, a new word will be released, a new understanding will be poured out, a new strength will be ignited. What began as a message will become a journey. I don't speak just once, I speak always. And he who learns to hear me will live in constant progress, because he who walks with my voice will never walk in circles. Son, I bring you today the confirmation your soul awaited. What I asked you to believe, I now fulfill. The answer I promised you has already been released in heaven, and it is moving toward you with divine precision. These are no longer distant promises, but a fulfillment in motion. Your every prayer, every silent tear, every gesture of faith has been recorded and now returns as a harvest. You will feel the touch of my intervention in the coming days, and you will recognize that what was once a wait has become an answer. I tell you, the time of uncertainty is over. I myself send my angels before you to prepare the way. Things are being resolved in your favor as you listen to these words. Documents, decisions, hearts, paths, everything is being aligned so that what I promised you will manifest without delay. That which seemed forgotten will be remembered. That which seemed lost will be found again. I restore what time tried to erase, and I bring back what you thought was irretrievable. Doubt no longer what I have told you. Your mature faith has opened the floodgates of heaven. The deposit is materializing. Even if you don't see it yet, you are already within the miracle. There is an invisible, discreet, yet powerful movement happening right now. You will feel peace invading the place of anxiety, lightness replacing heaviness, and the brightness returning to your eyes. This is the sign that heaven has already acted. It is not imagination, it is fulfillment. You've often expected great manifestations, but my miracles usually begin in the details. Learn to recognize me in the small responses. The simple phone call, the unexpected message, the opportunity that arises subtly, all these are the beginning of what I promised. I don't work in noise, I work in precision. When you least realize it, the invisible becomes visible, and your reality changes without fanfare. This is how my power works, silent yet irresistible. My son, I want you to know that your obedience was decisive. Each time you chose to continue believing, I took a step forward in fulfillment. Each time you decided to love, even when hurt, I established another step toward the miracle. Your faithfulness in pain accelerated the time of the harvest. Now, everything that once took time will be surprisingly fast. There will be days when you will say, "How did this happen so suddenly?" And I will tell you, it happened at the right time, because your faith sustained the process. Do not fear what is coming, because the new I bring will not bring confusion, but stability. You will no longer be someone who lives waiting, but someone who lives witnessing. What I give you now is concrete. People will see my favor in you, and your life will become a sign that I fulfill what I promise. Your eyes will see doors opening, connections forming, opportunities resurfacing. It will not be coincidence, it will be fulfillment. The heavens have moved toward you, and the earth begins to respond. I have already given orders to time, and time will obey you. Everything that once seemed delayed will now align perfectly. It's not luck, it's purpose. I move the universe because of sincere faith. Therefore, walk with confidence. Don't look back, nor fear losing what you are receiving. What comes from me is eternal, it does not fade. Son, keep this word as a seal. It is confirmation that your faith has been accepted and your request granted. From now on, walk with gratitude, not anxiety. Speak as one who has already received, and you will see that everything will respond to your tone. Gratitude accelerates what doubt delays. Praise while you wait, and the wait will become light. I assure you, the answer is coming and will bring with it the beginning of a new cycle. What begins now will not end with you. It will expand through you, because every promise fulfilled in your life becomes a seed in the life of another. The coming harvest is a sign that I have entrusted you with more than blessings. I have entrusted you with purpose. Do you feel this peace that envelops you now? It's the certainty of a promise fulfilled. It's the Spirit's testimony within you, saying, "It has arrived. Treasure this moment, live it with joy, and remember that the same God who answered you today will continue to be with you tomorrow." The answer is coming, and nothing can stop it, because heaven has already decreed a yes upon your life. Son, the time has come to break through. The time for listening is over. Now it's time to act. The promise has been released, the deposit is already open, and heaven awaits only your position. Therefore, I give you a spiritual command. Writes with faith. I receive what heaven has released for me. This simple act is the signature of your faith, the confirmation that you accept what I have prepared. Every word written with conviction becomes a seed, and each seed bears fruit. What you write with your hands today will manifest with my signs. For a long time you spoke of faith, but now you are living it. It's not theory, it's activation. What once seemed distant is now being drawn by your obedience. Each time you declare what you believe, I establish the reality of heaven upon your earth. Your words are keys that unlock doors. You are not just commenting, you are decreeing. And every time someone declares in agreement, the spiritual environment moves. The breakthrough doesn't happen in shouting, but in agreement. And when your faith agrees with my word, the miracle manifests. My son, this is the moment when the spiritual and the natural intersect. As you write, the angels record your confession before my throne. It is not the gesture that has power, but the faith that accompanies it. Written, faith is faith made visible. Each letter of yours is a testimony that you believe in the invisible. And when you believe, you authorize heaven to act in your story. No gesture of faith goes unnoticed. Each one is counted, remembered, and rewarded. I command you to speak with strength and purpose, because what comes out of your mouth and is recorded before me returns as fulfillment. I don't speak to encourage you, I speak to align you. What is within you now is not emotion, it is liberation. You were prepared for this moment. What was held back by fear, doubt, or weariness now breaks. The blockage is gone and liberation has begun. Your words are the first stones of this new foundation. Don't let pride or custom prevent you from obeying. There is power in simplicity. Faith isn't made of grand gestures, it's made of small acts repeated with sincerity. Obedience is the bridge between promise and fulfillment. When you do what I ask, you pave the way for the impossible to become tangible. You're not just writing a sentence, you're sealing the destiny I've prepared for you. And as you do this, something in the spiritual world shifts. The deposit begins to descend, the doors begin to open, and the weight you've been carrying begins to lift. Son, do you feel the atmosphere changing? This is the breaking through happening. I brought you here to prove that true faith doesn't depend on circumstances. It moves because it trusts. You trust, and that's why your written word becomes a heavenly decree. When your faith meets my promise, nothing remains closed. Heaven recognizes those who write with their heart, and upon them I pour out my presence twice as much. As you write, visualize what you've been waiting for. The door that opens, the diagnosis that changes, the forgiveness that arrives, the answer that finds you. There's no distance for divine action. What is done with faith in this moment reverberates everywhere where there is purpose. Each statement of yours is a seed planted in fertile soil. And I myself ensure that this seed bears fruit. So don't hesitate, act now. This is the time of breakthrough, the time to see the invisible become visible. He comments with faith, I receive what heaven has released for me. This is the code of liberation, the sound of breaking through, the echo of your faith. When you write, you confirm what heaven has already decided, and when you confirm, I establish it. Nothing will remain the same after this declaration. What was blocked will flow, what was heavy will become light, and what was distant will draw near. The rupture has begun, and you are at the center of it. Treasure this moment, for it will be remembered as the day your faith left thought and became action. I will seal your words with my spirit and multiply the fruits of your obedience. The earth will respond, time will respond, heaven will respond, and you will know that it all began when you chose to obey and declare what I commanded you to write. My son, what faith opens, gratitude sustains. Now that the breakthrough has begun, I want you to learn the power of giving thanks before seeing. Gratitude is the language of those who trust. Those who are grateful don't depend on signs, for they already have certainty in their hearts. Gratitude is the seed that keeps the soil fertile for the next miracle. While many still wait to receive before giving thanks, I teach my people to give thanks so they can continue receiving. Your gratitude is the perfume that rises to my throne. When a child gives thanks, all heaven moves in response, because gratitude is faith in the form of praise. It confirms that you trust my word, even when your eyes still cannot see. Gratitude is the seal of spiritual maturity. It says, Lord, even if I don't see it yet, I know you've already done it. And that's why grateful faith never returns empty-handed. My child, breathe and look around you. There are small things that have already begun to change. The weight of fear has lifted, hope has begun to be reborn, your soul is lighter. These are the first signs that the deposit has begun to manifest. Every feeling of peace is a testament to divine action. Don't let anxiety erase this state. Be grateful and you will see the miracle grow. Gratitude is the music that keeps heaven in harmony with you. I don't ask for great sacrifices, I ask for recognition. To acknowledge is to say, I know where it came from. When you acknowledge, you make room for more. Ingratitude blocks the flow, but a grateful heart multiplies what it receives. Therefore, truly give thanks for what is still being formed. Each thank you that comes from your lips is a new key that unlocks another compartment of the storehouse. I want you to learn to be grateful not only when the result arrives, but while the process is still ongoing. Because those who thank me halfway through prove they trust in destiny. Your gratitude today will be the bridge between this moment and the fulfillment I have prepared. Now, manifest that faith in the form of action, like this message as a token of gratitude, and let this gesture be your offering of trust. Each touch of faith is a thank you that echoes in the invisible. As you give thanks, I advance. As you praise, I accelerate. And when you fall silent in peace, it is because you already know what I promised is fulfilled. Be thankful, my child. Breaking through doesn't end with action, it's complete in praise. Heaven rejoices when a heart recognizes that everything comes from me. Maintain this attitude and you will live in abundance, because gratitude is the soil where blessings flourish without ceasing. Son, what I have done so far has not only been a liberation, it has been a new beginning. You are no longer where you began. You have been transported to a new time. The pain that shaped you no longer rules your heart. What was once a wound now becomes a testimony. This is the beginning of a new story, written by my hands, built on the foundation of your faith. Everything you have experienced so far has been preparation for this moment, and what I begin today will never end. The past no longer holds power over you. I have erased the trace of guilt, the echo of fear, and the weight of memories that held you captive. Your mind is being renewed, your heart is being remade, and your soul is being aligned with the purpose I set out from the beginning. I am the author of your story, and no error has been able to tear from my hands the paper on which your destiny was written. Every line the enemy tried to erase, I have rewritten with grace and hope. Now, what was ruin becomes foundation. You will see that the days ahead will not have the same tone as the days gone by. Your way of seeing the world will change, because now you see it through my eyes. Where you once saw obstacles, you will see opportunities. Where you once felt fear, you will feel direction. The new that emerges will not come from outside, but from within. It is within you that my spirit dwells, and it is within you that I begin this new season. No longer mourn what is gone. The previous season has served its purpose. Now is the time to blossom. The Port Desert is over, and the promised rains are already falling upon your land. All that seemed barren will once again produce. All that was lost will be restored abundantly. I transform tears into seeds, and they are now sprouting in the form of joy. What once brought you down will now be a source of strength. What once wounded you will now be a source of wisdom. Son, I tell you, lift your head. You are not what they did to you. You are what I declared about you. Your name is associated with overcoming, faithfulness, and victory. The shame that surrounded you will be replaced by honor. The time of hiding is over, and the time of revelation has begun. I did not rebuild you to keep you hidden, but to show you as an example of my faithfulness. Others will see your transformation and recognize that you have been touched by me. Nothing was wasted. Every second of pain was raw material for your anointing. The experiences you considered useless will become tools to help others find their way. I transform survivors into messengers, and you are one of them. Your voice will carry authority because it speaks from a place of true overcoming. Your life will be living proof that there is no time wasted when you trust in me. Today, I declare over you, a new cycle begins. And this cycle will not be guided by fear, but by trust. The doors that have opened will not close, because I myself will sustain them. Walk with courage, knowing that you are under a new decree. The season of scarcity has ended. The season of abundance has begun. Where there was once discouragement, now there will be vision. Where there were once tears, now there will be laughter. Do you feel the lightness that envelops you? It's a sign of a new era. The air you breathe is different because the burden of the past has been lifted. My presence accompanies you, and with each step you take, you leave marks of redemption. This is the beginning of a story written in light, and no shadow can erase it. My son, keep this certainty. You are not merely surviving, you are living the fulfillment of an eternal plan. Your story does not end in wounds, it ends in glory. I did not take you from pain just to comfort you. I took you to send you. You will be a beacon where there is darkness. You will be a witness where there is disbelief. This is the beginning of a new phase, the dawn of the purpose I have waited for the right time to reveal. Go in peace, walk with confidence, live with gratitude. Because what began here will be the foundation of all I will yet do. And remember, no story written by my hands can be interrupted. Yours begins again now, and this time, with heaven as my witness, it will have no end. Son, what I have placed in your hands is not just a blessing, it is a mission. What you have received should not be hoarded, but shared. The abundance that comes from heaven is not measured by the amount you possess, but by the amount you allow to flow. When a spring tries to hold back water, it becomes a stagnant well. But when it lets the water flow, it becomes a living river. And that is what I want you to be, a river that brings life wherever it goes. What I have given you is too precious to remain hidden. The word that has reached you is healing, nourishment, and direction. There are people who walk lost, hungry for an answer, thirsty for a sign, and I have chosen you to be the channel of that answer. The deposit I released into your life was so abundant that it cannot fit within you alone. It needs to be poured out onto others. When you share what comes from me, the flow increases. Heaven does not work with retention, it works with movement. The grace that flows from you is the seal of your abundance. Don't be afraid to share. Faith doesn't diminish when divided, it multiplies. Love doesn't weaken when given, it grows. Hope doesn't fade when shared, it spreads like light in the night. Everything I place in your hands multiplies when it passes through your words and actions. Therefore, don't keep what you've heard here to yourself. Share this message with anyone who needs to hear it, and make it your act of obedience and spiritual generosity. There are people who pray for a sign, and you will be that sign. There are sad hearts waiting for a word that will rekindle their faith, and you will be that voice. I have filled you so that you may overflow. Abundance is not just what you receive, it is what flows from you to others. The more you give, the more I give you. Heaven replenishes those who become channels. And every life touched by your obedience returns to you as a multiplied harvest. My son, you were not blessed to be a closed storehouse. You were called to be a distributor of my presence. True prosperity is when your hands become an extension of mine. When you help, I help. When you comfort, I manifest myself. When you share what comes from above, you make heaven itself move upon you and upon those who hear you. You become part of the miracle you once asked for. Do you know why I gave you this word? Because I can trust you. I saw your heart when everything was dark. I saw your faith when no one believed. And now I entrust you with the privilege of bringing light where there is still shadow. It is not a burden, it is an honor. You will be a channel of divine abundance. Each time you bring a message of faith, I will multiply the provision in your life. Each time you decide to kindle hope in another heart, I will light new doors of blessing before you. I tell you, the secret to fulfillment is flow. What flows is renewed, what is held back wears out. If you want to live in abundance, learn to let what I give you flow. Use your words, your actions, your attitudes to spread what you have received here. Do not underestimate the power of a gesture. A simple sharing can save a soul, can restore faith, can prevent giving up, and every time this happens, I will be there, multiplying your reward. It's no coincidence that this message found you. I knew you would hear it with the right heart, and that's why I call you now to be an instrument of the same miracle you experienced. You will be a bridge between what heaven says and what the earth needs to hear. And as you let my word flow through you, I will open new paths, send new opportunities, and give you new reasons to be thankful. Share this word now with someone who needs strength, hope, and renewal. Make this your act of faith and generosity. This simple gesture has eternal power, because when you spread my voice, your name echoes in heaven like that of a faithful son who understood the purpose of abundance. Go and take with you what is divine. For the more you share, the more I will give you. What began in you will become movement, and this movement will not cease, because those who carry light never walk in darkness. Son, heaven moves in symbols, and your every gesture carries spiritual power. Today I give you a prophetic sign that will seal all that has been unleashed upon you. Write 7777. This is not just a number, it is the code of plenitude, the mark of the completed cycle, the sound of heaven saying, "It is finished." Each 7 represents a stage you have overcome, a time that has closed and a new one that has opened. When you write with faith, you declare before the throne that you accept to live the totality of what I have prepared for you, without lack, without fear, without interruptions. 7 is the number of divine perfection. 3 sevens speak of completion, but 4 represent overflow. 7,777 is confirmation that your cycle ends not only in victory, but in multiplication. It is the spiritual signature that indicates that abundance has arrived and will remain. When you write this number, you are declaring, "I enter the phase where nothing is lacking," and heaven responds, "I sustain what you have begun." This is the covenant of pact of plenitude, and whoever writes it with faith becomes part of the current that heaven itself moves. Do not underestimate what I ask of you. Each act of faith I command you has a specific purpose. The visible gesture is the manifestation of invisible trust. The number is the symbol, but what activates the miracle is your belief. You are not just typing numbers, you are sealing a spiritual decree. As you write 7,777, the spiritual world recognizes your declaration and repositions everything around you to align with abundance. You have already gone through the waiting, the rupture, and the transformation. Now, this is the final seal, the seal of wholeness. It represents rest after struggle, laughter after tears, heaven's definitive yes to your journey. It is no coincidence that this number reaches you at this very moment. It appears as the Spirit's signature on the document of your promise, and when I sign something, no one can erase it. My son, write with faith. Each 7 you declare is a testimony before my angels. The first represents forgiveness, the second restoration, the third multiplication, the fourth the eternity of the covenant. 4 layers of grace, 4 breaths of life, 4 confirmations of my love. And when they come together, they form the sound of fullness. 7,777. As you type, something invisible begins to move. The weight lifts from your shoulders, your mind clears, and a sense of completeness invades you. It's the spiritual signature being imprinted on your life. You will feel peace, and this peace will be the seal that the act has been accepted. The Spirit will testify with you, and your soul will know that something has been established. This number is a constant reminder that I am the God who fulfills His promises, and that with you, the cycle will not repeat itself, it will be completed. There is power in every act of faith. Each time you write 7,777, a part of heaven manifests on earth. This is the code of divine abundance, the confirmation that you have not only received, but continue to receive. It is the symbol of constancy, of continuous communion, of grace that does not dry up. Therefore, son, obey without fear. Comment now 7777 as your prophetic declaration. Make this gesture your spiritual signature in the book of plenitude. Declare before heaven and earth that you accept to live in completeness, prosperity, and communion. This number is more than a sign, it is a covenant, and those who make it no longer walk in lack because grace covers them, faith guides them, and abundance accompanies them. As you obey, the environment around you changes. Do you feel it? It's the confirmation of fullness. Your spirit aligns with mine, and your name is written in a new register of abundance. The time for seeking is over, and the time for enjoying has begun. Keep this number as a symbol of your faith and my faithfulness. Every time you look at it, you will remember, heaven has completed me. Write, declare, and believe. 7,777. This is the sound of fullness, the seal of your abundance, and the eternal mark of my yes upon your life. My son, what began as a promise has now become a flow. The abundance that has descended upon your life is not a visit, it is a dwelling. I have not released a blessing for a day, I have opened a fountain for a lifetime. What was activated by your faith will continue to flow as long as you keep your heart aligned with my presence. The doors I have opened will not close, and the favor I have poured out will not run dry. You have entered a heavenly rhythm of provision, and this rhythm is sustained by your trust. I am not a God of events, I am a God of permanence. My flow is not intermittent, it is constant. Each day you choose to believe, the river continues to flow. Faith is the valve that keeps the channel open. As you believe, heaven continues to pour upon you new portions of grace, wisdom, discernment, and favor. Abundance is not limited to material things. It is the state of a heart that lives in communion with me, and I never let that heart lack. You will not live in spiritual, emotional, or financial scarcity. Your mind will be filled with peace, your spirit will be nourished with direction, and your life will be sustained by purpose. I will take care of the details that concern you, even those you never dared mention. I am in motion, and what I start, I complete. There is no interruption when there is faith. The flow continues because your belief remains. My child, you will see that the blessings that will come will not only be answers to prayer, but fruits of perseverance. What you plant in faith will grow effortlessly, because now the soil of your life is fertile. The ideas I will give you will be prosperous. The connections I will send you will be divine. Opportunities that arise will be stable. What was random will become continuous. You will no longer live in ups and downs, but in a constant flow. I want you to understand that I bless you, not only when you ask, but also when you remain. Obedience keeps the harvest alive. When you seek me, even when there is no urgent need, my favor anticipates your requests. I bless those who believe, even when there is no urgency, because this reveals maturity. And it is this stable faith that sustains lasting abundance. Don't fear the future. Many worry that the cycle of blessings may end, but I tell you, my flow does not cease, it only grows. Your story doesn't end with one miracle, it becomes a channel for many others. What you experience today is the first chapter in a journey of continuous prosperity. And if at any point you feel the flow weakening, remember, faith reignites the river. Just believe again, and everything flows again. Son, I watched you when you asked only for the essentials, and now I see you ready to manage the abundance. What I give you is not to burden you, it is to expand. I trust you, because I have seen you faithful in little, and whoever is faithful in little is worthy of much. Your abundance will not come in haste, but with constancy. You will grow healthy, firm, and secure. I will not give you more than you can carry, but I will multiply what you already have until nothing is lacking. Therefore, remain in me. Do not be distracted by what is temporary, because what I give you is eternal. Your communion is your guarantee. As long as you remain connected to my voice, abundance will never cease. Faith has brought you this far, gratitude will sustain you, and obedience will make you grow. This is the secret to fulfillment. To continue believing even when everything seems stable, to continue giving thanks even when everything seems ordinary. Seal this promise now with an act of faith and perseverance. Like this message and subscribe, because I will continue to speak to you. Each new word will be a new portion of my provision. Each time you return, the flow will increase. I will not leave you without direction or presence. The abundance I have given you is alive, pulsating, and eternal. Walk, my son, with confidence and lightness. The river is open, the heavens are active, and the favor is continuous. As long as there is faith, there will be liberation. And as long as there is communion, there will be multiplication. I promise, I will continue to release blessings upon those who believe, and you were one of those who chose to believe. Son, now is the time for calm. What you have so longed for, what you have longed for, what I have declared about you, it has already begun to flow. It is no longer a distant promise, it is a real movement. The heavenly deposit has been activated, and your name has been linked to an unceasing flow. You no longer need to struggle with the anxiety of one who seeks, because now you are the one who receives. Rest, for heaven has already begun to act, and nothing can interrupt what has been begun. Do you feel this lightness beginning to invade your heart? It's the sign of flow. The air seems lighter, your mind calmer, your chest more open. This isn't coincidence, it's presence. It's my Spirit gently blowing upon you, saying, I fulfill what I promise. Don't worry about seeing everything at once. The flow of the storehouse is progressive, and each day will reveal a new part of the abundance I have prepared for you. The river of my provision doesn't come like a storm, it comes like a steady current. It doesn't destroy, it nourishes. For so long, you have grown accustomed to waiting with effort, praying with desperation, and seeking with urgency. Now, I want you to learn the rhythm of peace. The faith that once struggled now rests. The soul that once cried out now worships. The heart that once feared now trusts. I no longer call you to the weariness of seeking, but to the rest of presence. Because when the deposit begins to flow, your only role is to remain open, receptive, and grateful. Everything around you will begin to respond to the new frequency of your spirit. Situations that seemed stuck will unlock naturally. People will begin to move in your favor without you needing to insist. Paths will open without any pushes. This is the flow, the silent, constant, perfect action. You don't control it, you embrace it. I work gently because what is divine doesn't need noise to happen. What is mine happens with ease and permanence. Son, I know how tired you have been trying to understand the times. Now I want you to know, the time for restlessness is over. You are within the answer. What was once waiting has become experience. What was once a promise has become testimony. Don't rush trying to see the result, just enjoy the process. The flow is continuous, and the more you trust, the more it intensifies. Your life is now in balance. What surrounded you with scarcity will be replaced by constancy. What was unstable will become firm. The faith that sustained the beginning will sustain continuity. I am directing your path like a maestro conducts a perfect melody. Every detail has purpose, and nothing that comes will be disorder, it will be sequence. Feel at peace with what has already begun. Don't compare your journey to others, because your flow is unique. Some will see great waves, others will feel a steady trickle, both come from the same river. I know the rhythm your heart can handle, and what I give you now is precisely measured so as not to overwhelm you. Everything that comes from me comes in its own measure, the right time, the right way, the right intensity. You need not fear tomorrow, because the deposit has no expiration date. It does not depend on circumstances, it depends on faith. As long as you remain believing, the flow will continue. And when you try to control with your hands what can only be sustained by the heart, remember, peace is proof that heaven is at work. You were faithful in the desert, and now you are gathering the morning dew. The flow has begun, and it will accompany you until the end of your days. Learn to take a deep breath and say, "What God has started, no one can stop." This will be your mantra, your truth, your foundation. Remain serene, my child. The deposit is not a prize, it is an inheritance. You don't need to rush to earn what is already yours. Simply live with gratitude, for heaven is already continually pouring down upon you. And every time fear tries to return, silence it with this certainty: the flow has begun, and I am in command. Nothing will be lacking, nothing will be taken from you, because what is in motion now comes directly from my hands, and my movement is eternal. Son, at this moment I ask of you something simple yet powerful. Close your eyes for a moment and feel the peace that envelops you now. What you perceive is not imagination, it is the touch of my spirit. It is confirmation that I am here, fulfilling what I promised. The presence you feel does not come from outside, it comes from within. I dwell where I am welcome, and your heart has become my altar. I don't ask for grand gestures, I don't demand sacrifices. I ask only for a simple act of faith. Faith doesn't need to be loud, just genuine. And when it manifests itself sincerely, heaven responds. Place your hand over your heart and say silently, "I feel your presence." This is the gesture that confirms that your soul recognizes the divine touch. As you say this, something within you aligns. Emotions calm, thoughts organize, the spirit is renewed. This is how I work gently, lightly, and lovingly. For so long, you believed that faith required effort, but today I show you that it can also manifest itself in tranquility. Faith is not just crying out loud, it is knowing how to rest with confidence. The peace you are feeling is the result of your surrender. It is the sign that you no longer need to chase after what is already being brought to you. When you trust, everything flows gracefully. And when you rest, heaven acts in silence. Do you feel the gentle warmth descending upon you? It is the touch of my hand. I pass over your old pains, over your doubts, over the weight that still tries to follow you. I am removing what remains of anxiety and replacing it with serenity. I am clearing the ground of your soul so that you may remain filled with my presence. I visit you not to impress you, but to transform you. With each touch of mine, your essence becomes more like mine. My son, you don't need to understand everything. Just feel and be grateful. When the heart recognizes the presence, the spirit expands. And when the spirit expands, faith grows naturally. This lightness you feel is confirmation that heaven is active. I don't just speak with words, I speak with atmospheres. And the atmosphere around you is now being purified by my presence. Simple faith is the greatest power there is. It moves the invisible, it sustains the eternal. Do not underestimate it. Great miracles are born from small gestures. When a heart recognizes me, I fill it with guidance and protection. It is not the size of the gesture that makes it powerful, but the intention behind it. Therefore, keep this faith simple, pure, and uncomplicated. Speak to me naturally, as one would speak to someone they love. I hear every word, even those not spoken aloud. The touch I gave you is real, and it will not fade. It will be your daily reminder that I am present. Each time you feel it, remember, heaven touched me. That will be enough to renew your strength. Life is made of many seasons, but the presence remains in them all. And this presence will not be broken, because now there is a bond between us, the bond of trust. Confirm this touch with an attitude of visible faith. Like this video as a sign of your communion with me, and let this simple gesture represent the amen of your soul. It's not just a touch of the screen, it's a spiritual declaration. I acknowledge your presence and I thank you for it. As you obey, a gentle energy spreads over you. It's like an invisible embrace enveloping your being. You lack nothing in this moment because everything you need is here in me. Feel the calm, feel the sacred silence, feel the harmony. This is the state in which the deposit continues to flow without noise, without effort, simply with faith. Be at peace, my child. This touch is the seal of my covenant with you. It will be your refuge in difficult times and your strength in good times. Live consciously in it, and your journey will be light, firm, and constant. You are no longer trying to reach me, you are already in me, and that is the greatest miracle of all. Son, what you feel now is proof that my spirit rests upon you. This peace that envelops your heart is not fragile, it is eternal. It comes from me, and I gave it to you so that it may also become a shelter for others. Many out there are restless, trying to find in noise what exists only in the silence of my presence. Therefore, I call you today to be a bearer of this peace. What you have received is not just comfort, it is a mission. There are weary hearts that still don't know how to rest in me. People who live trapped in thoughts of fear, guilt, and uncertainty, waiting only for a word to make them breathe again. You were chosen to be that breath. The same gentle wind that brought you relief now blows through you. Your every word can soothe the soul. Every gesture, every act of faith, every act of love is a seed of peace being planted in someone's desert. Don't keep this serenity to yourself. What is withheld dries up, what is shared flourishes. Peace is like a perfume that spreads in the air. The more you share, the stronger it becomes. I gave you this feeling so that the world around you may be transformed by it. The home you live in, the people you associate with, the paths you travel, all will be touched by the atmosphere of my presence that now dwells within you. My child, carry this peace wherever you go. May your eyes convey tranquility. May your words carry hope. May your presence become a reminder of my love. You don't need sermons. Your peace is enough. It will be a testimony that I dwell within you. The world recognizes my children not by the volume of their voice, but by the serenity of their spirit. And you were called to be that example. There is a special grace for those who choose to share what they receive. When you share peace, I multiply it. When you comfort others, I empower you. The peace you give never diminishes because it comes from an inexhaustible source, myself. And every time you help someone find rest, you will feel my touch anew. This is how I keep the flame burning within you. The more you give, the more you receive. Don't be afraid to be small, because great transformations begin with simple gestures. A hug, a word, a shared experience, all of these can change destinies. There is someone right now waiting for a sign that heaven is still speaking, and you are that sign. Use what you have at your disposal and let peace reach those who need it. Share this message now and let the breath of my spirit travel through you. This act is more than a click, it is ascending. As you obey, I move again. Each person reached by your obedience will also become a bearer of peace. And so, what began within you will expand to reach places you never imagined. This is how my kingdom grows, through those who have learned to rest and trust. My son, what you are experiencing now is only the beginning of a divine chain. Your heart is the first link, but it will not be the last. I will make your serenity contagious to those around you. Even without words, your presence will carry a kind of tranquility that people will not understand, but will feel. This is the reflection of my glory. Carry this light without fear. Share what you have received, and you will see that your own peace will grow stronger with each sharing. Spiritual abundance multiplies when you surrender. What you are feeling now is the greatest gift heaven can bestow, the awareness of my living presence within you. Go and take with you the sound of silence that heals, the calm that transforms, and the faith that sustains. Share this word and let it reach those who still need to remember that heaven continues to speak. The peace I have given you is lasting, and by sharing it, you become part of the plan that changes the world, one heart at a time. Son, now that you feel the peace and flow of my presence, I want you to learn to remain under my voice. I haven't called you for a momentary encounter, but for a constant journey. True abundance isn't in receiving just once, but in living connected to the source. What I have given you is not an event, it is a bond. Your faith opened the door, but it is your permanence that will keep you within it. My voice is the thread that guides you. When you follow it, the path is illuminated. When you stray from it, the world becomes noisy again. And I don't want you to get lost again in the confusing noise. Therefore, stay close, listening to the gentle sound of my spirit. It will show you what to do, who to forgive, when to act, and when to rest. I don't speak just to comfort you, I speak to guide you. My voice is direction, and those who walk by it will not stray. There are many who seek me only when pain touches them, but you were chosen to live differently. You were called to listen even in calm, to remain in communion even when everything seems resolved. Mature faith is not sustained by emergencies, but by relationship. Consistency is the proof of trust. Therefore, my child, I invite you, remain under my guidance. Your future depends on your listening. I know the world tries to compete for your focus. It calls you with quick promises, but none of them compare to what I have prepared. If you listen to my voice every day, you will realize that there are no shortcuts to my path. I am the way, and whoever remains in me will not get lost, will not become exhausted, will not grow weary. Even when circumstances change, your peace will not be shaken, because your security will not be found in situations, but in communion. Learn to recognize me in the little things. I speak in the brightness of a new day, in the silence of a dawn, in the sudden memory of a verse, in the person who crosses your path with a word that confirms what you already felt in your heart. My voice is present in everything that brings peace, clarity, and love. If something disturbs you, it does not come from me. I do not confuse you, I ground you. Son, your every step is important. When you walk in my direction, every decision becomes sacred. And even if you make mistakes, if you seek me again, I will reposition you with tenderness. Do not fear making mistakes, only fear walking without listening. Obedience is not a prison, it is protection. I speak to you because I want you to prosper in everything, in your words, in your choices, in your relationships. And if you remain sensitive to my voice, you will avoid many shortcuts that would hold you back. Remember that I don't speak only in extraordinary moments. I speak in the routine, in the details, in the simple. Spiritual life is not made of peaks, it is made of constancy. It is daily listening that creates continuous flow. When you wake up, talk to me. When you rest, give thanks. And when fear tries to push you away, listen again to what I say to you now. I am with you. This is the phrase that will sustain your new time. Persistence is the proof of love. And those who love me remain, not by obligation, but by choice, because they realize that my presence is rest and guidance. The world will offer you many voices, but none of them will bring the same taste of peace. Learn to silence the noise, to hear the sacred. The voice you hear here is not external. It is the echo of your own spirit in tune with mine. Now, confirm your decision to remain under my voice. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected, because I will continue to instruct you, strengthen you, and reveal secrets that will nourish your faith. Each new word will be another step on your journey. Don't let the flow stop. Keep listening, following, and growing. Son, the time for inconstancy is over. Now is the time for permanence. Walk in peace, for the voice that called you continues to speak, and as long as you listen to me, your life will remain aligned with plenitude. My child, the time has come to recognize who you truly are. Everything you have experienced thus far has been to lead you back to your true identity. You are not just someone who has received a blessing, you are my child. And being my child means carrying within you the essence of the divine, the flame of the eternal, the DNA of promise. Many have tried to convince you that you were unworthy, small, or forgotten, but I remind you today, you belong to me. Nothing that happened in the past can erase the name I have written upon you. From the beginning, I called you by name and set you apart for a purpose. Even when you doubted, even when you walked away, I never abandoned you. A father's love does not depend on the child's performance. It depends on the nature of the one who loves, and my nature is to love without measure. You are not a spiritual accident. You are a deliberate choice from heaven. Every line of your life was designed by my hands. I formed you with eternal intentions, and it is time for you to recognize this truth. For too long, you allowed fear and guilt to shape your image. The voice of rejection whispered lies, and you almost believed them. But today, I undo those chains. No mistake can nullify your sonship. No failure can erase the blood that marked you as mine. What separated you has already been removed. What accused you has already been silenced. I look at you and see perfection through grace. I see the reflection of what I placed within you: strength, goodness, light, and purpose. Son, you don't need to prove your worth. You are already valuable. The love I have for you doesn't need to be earned. I simply accept it. I call you son because you were born of my spirit. What is generated by me carries my nature. You have the authority to speak, the power to bless, and the capacity to transform. Sonship is not a symbolic title, it is a living inheritance. When you accept who you are, everything around you begins to recognize it too. Heaven respects you, earth favors you, and hell fears you, because a son aware of his place is an unbeatable son. I want you to declare with faith what heaven already knows. Comments now: I am a son of God. This is your proclamation of authority. Each time you say it, the spiritual universe aligns with your new identity. You cease to be what the world said you were and become what I declared you to be. Your voice carries creative power, and when you confess your sonship, you release all that was held captive by guilt and shame. You were adopted by grace, not merit, and a beloved child never loses the right to return home. Even if you feel distant, my embrace is always open. When you call me Father, all heaven moves. Each time you affirm your sonship, angels rise to protect you, doors open, and peace descends. This simple phrase, "I am a child of God," is a key that unlocks dimensions of favor and authority. Look within yourself and realize fear is melting away, the weight is lifting, and shame is dissipating like mist. This is how identity is restored, not by force, but by revelation. You don't need to be like anyone else. You were created unique, with a unique purpose. Comparison is the thief of identity, and I free you from it now. You are not a copy, you are creation. You are not a shadow, you are light. From this day forward, walk with your head held high. You are not a servant of circumstance, you are an heir to the promise. You are not a hostage to the past. You are a participant in the future I have designed for you. The enemy fears conscious children because they know that nothing can separate them from the Father's love. When you recognize who you are, you stop asking permission to be happy and begin to live as one sent to manifest heaven on earth. Keep this truth in your heart. You are a beloved, desired, and sustained child. And as long as you remain aware of this, nothing can shake you. What is coming now is the time of harvest for those who know who they are. I will be with you every step of the way, always reminding you, you are mine and I am yours. Son, today I confirm to you, everything that has been said about you is sealed. No word that has come from my mouth will return void. What I have released into your life is not in the process of approval, it is decreed, established, and established in heaven. You have passed through the fire, traversed the silence, overcome fear, and now what was a promise has become a covenant. This is the seal of eternity upon you. The enemy tried to delay, confuse, and weaken, but nothing could prevent what I had determined. The seal has been placed, and no earthly power can remove it. You are no longer the same. Within you lies a mark that cannot be erased, the mark of faith tested and approved. With each step, you will feel confirmation of what I tell you now. The cycle of uncertainty is over. Everything I promised you begins to manifest itself in layers, and with each of them, you will recognize my faithfulness. It was not a dream or an emotion, it was a pact, and pacts made with me are unbreakable. I do not take back what I grant, I sustain what I give. Son, the seal of promise is not an external symbol, it is an internal state. It lives within you. It is the peace that cannot be shaken, the hope that cannot be extinguished, the certainty that does not depend on circumstances. Even when the world around you changes, the seal will remain. Because it was not written on paper, it was engraved in spirit. I sealed you with my name, and wherever you are, my presence will be your signature. Everything you touch is transformed, because the touch of a sealed child carries the power of the covenant. I remind you that the promise is not fulfilled all at once, but revealed in stages. And each of these will be marked by favor, grace, and wisdom. Do not fear if you do not yet see everything, because the seal is the guarantee that nothing has been forgotten. Time is now your ally, not your enemy. It works in your favor, because what is sealed in heaven manifests on earth with precision. Remember what I said. Faith opens, obedience maintains, and the seal confirms. You obeyed, you remained, and now I confirm. This seal is the sound of my eternal yes upon your life. It does not depend on emotion, it depends on covenant. When you doubt, return to this moment. Close your eyes and remember what you feel now. This peace that envelops you is the testimony of the seal. I didn't just give you a promise, I made you part of it. What happens to you now is part of something much greater, because what I seal in you extends to yours. The blessing I bring upon your home is transgenerational. The seal that manifests in you today will also cover those who come after. Your faith has paved the way for generations. Therefore, do not fear when the wind changes direction. The seal does not shake. Do not doubt when external voices try to confuse you. The promise does not depend on anyone's approval. It was written by me, and I myself watch over its fulfillment. I am faithful to keep what I have begun, and no plan of mine can be thwarted. From this day forward, live with the serenity of one who knows that heaven has already spoken. Walk as if carrying a spiritual document signed by God Himself. Doors will recognize you, opportunities will open, and hearts will be inclined, not by chance, but by purpose. You have been marked by the promise and sealed by faith. Now confirm this moment with a gesture of recognition and love, like this message as a token of gratitude for the badge you receive. This act is your visible Amen before heaven. It symbolizes your agreement with what I have established. It is not just a gesture, it is a declaration. I acknowledge that it is done. Son, what began with tears ends with peace. What began with waiting ends with certainty. The seal is set, the promise is alive, and your name is engraved on the palm of my hand. No wind, no doubt, no time can erase what has been confirmed. Live lightly, for everything heaven has decided remains. The promise is sealed, and you are living proof of my eternal faithfulness. Son, the time of multiplication has come. What has been released upon you will not remain within you alone, but will expand through your agreement. When heaven speaks, it seeks hearts that say, Amen. The prophetic word is not fulfilled simply because it is spoken, but because it is received. And today I ask of you a simple yet spiritual gesture. Agree with what I have already released. Declare with faith that you believe in what I have promised you, because your agreement is the password that activates expansion. Heaven is movement, and divine movement responds to human faith. When you say yes, the angels align, the doors adjust, and the paths open. Your agreement with heaven carries weight. Therefore, today I call you to seal this agreement with a prophetic act. Comment now 7,777, the number of multiplied fullness, and declares that you are in harmony with what heaven has already decided. This gesture, even though it seems simple, has power because it is done in obedience. Each 7 you write is an echo of faith. The first confirms your belief, the second manifests what was believed, the third multiplies, the fourth seals the eternity of the cycle. This number represents the rhythm of heaven, complete, perfect, and expanding. When you pronounce it, you are saying to the spiritual universe, I align myself with God's will, and I agree with the flow of the promise. And heaven responds, so it shall be. Son, agreement is more than words. It is vibration. It is spiritual energy. When your faith aligns with my word, there is an explosion of invisible movement. What was held back is released. What was small grows. What was distant draws near. Your Amen activates the Spirit's action. And as you write, the atmosphere around you adjusts to the frequency of fulfillment. You are not just reciting a number, you are participating in the miracle. Angels are assigned to respond to your agreement. As your faith manifests, they receive orders to act. And I myself decree, whatever you agree with me will become prosperous. Everything you touch with faith will flourish. Agreement is the link between the invisible and the visible. And when you consciously decide to believe, I multiply what you have placed in faith. Son, you were prepared for this moment. I didn't bring you here just to watch, but to participate. Multiplication doesn't begin outside, it begins within. When your inner self says, yes, the outside responds. Your Agreement changes atmospheres, opens paths, and awakens dormant miracles. You are a collaborator with heaven, and your every word is a spiritual tool. Now is the time to activate what is ready to grow. The deposit I released upon you contains seeds of abundance, but it is your agreement that makes them germinate. Every promise has a cycle: release, obedience, agreement, and multiplication. You have already obeyed, and now I call you to agree. Your yes is not just acceptance, it is the fuel of expansion. As you write 7,777, visualize all that you hope for being multiplied. See doors opening, relationships being restored, provisions arriving, ideas blossoming, peace spreading. Your agreement is the soil where I plant the new. And the more you declare, the faster the field blossoms. Don't let doubt erase this moment. The enemy fears those who agree because they walk in the same direction toward heaven. Your unity with me is your strength, and when you are aligned with my will, no opposing force prevails. Your yes tears down walls, moves mountains, and lights where there was once darkness. Therefore, my son, manifest your faith now. Make your comment a living confession. Write 7777 as a sign of agreement, and I will cause everything that was ready to begin to multiply. Your gesture is the echo of creation, the same sound I heard when I said, "Let there be light." And just as that day the light was born, today multiplication will be born in your life. Remain in peace, for I uphold what you agree with me. From this moment on, you will see accelerated results, expanded doors, and open paths. Agreement has opened the next phase, the time when everything that was seed will become harvest, and everything that was promise will become testimony. Son, what I have given you is not just for you. Faith that multiplies begins with the act of sharing. I poured out upon you a living word, and every living word carries the power to generate life in others. What you heard was not a fleeting comfort, it was an eternal seed. And now I ask you, do not keep it only within yourself. Carry it forward, because each time you share what comes from me, a new wave of transformation begins. Faith is a fire that is not extinguished when shared. On the contrary, the more it is shared, the stronger it becomes. You are the bearer of this flame. When you decide to share, you become part of the heavenly movement. I use simple gestures to accomplish great works. Whoever shares a word of faith is not just spreading something, they are releasing the sound of heaven upon earth. Each person reached by your obedience will receive a touch of the same spirit that now surrounds you. Think of the lives still trapped in fear, those who have lost hope, those who feel alone and forgotten. They need to hear what I told you. There are people who prayed today asking for a sign, and you are the answer I sent. When you obey and share, your faith becomes a bridge between heaven and those who need to cross the desert. The gesture is simple, but the impact is eternal. Therefore, share this message now and let the seed spread. Your sharing is more than a digital act, it is a spiritual action. Each time this word reaches a new heart, a new liberation occurs. I multiply the power of the word in the hands of those who choose to obey. And when your faith touches another's, something extraordinary begins. Because where two agree, there is a multiplication of anointing. You are becoming a channel, and I am flowing through you. Son, multiplication does not happen by chance. It follows the movement of obedience. Heaven works with those who choose to cooperate. When you bring my word to someone, you are not just helping, you are being an instrument of the miracle itself. Your surrender activates the supernatural. Therefore, I tell you, do not let this anointing remain stagnant within you. The river of grace needs to flow, and you are now one of its banks. There are hidden blessings in your obedience. Every time you obey, I add something new to what you have. As you share, abundance grows. As you spread faith, I increase your own harvest. It's a divine cycle that never breaks. Those who give, receive. Those who bless are blessed. And every soul touched by your attitude returns to you in the form of favor. You are part of what I am building on earth. Through you, faith will spread to homes, cities, and nations. And what began with a single word will reach multitudes. This is the time of spiritual expansion, and I have included you in it. Don't worry about who will listen, just obey. I myself will carry this message to the right hearts, and each of them will be a new seed sown. Son, the movement doesn't end with you, it begins with you. When you share, the word multiplies and returns stronger. Your gesture ignites other flames, and soon you will see the result. People restored, faith rekindled, lives transformed. This is the harvest of those who obey. And while this happens, I will be blessing you twice over. Share this word now. Make this act your testimony of faith. Show heaven that you are ready to be a channel and not just a recipient. Your touch will be a bridge, your gesture will be a seed, and your obedience will be remembered as the beginning of an endless multiplication. My son, listen, what you sow today will return to you magnified. The sound of your obedience will echo among those who do not yet know me, and I will give you the privilege of seeing the fruit of it. For each time a heart is reached by your faithfulness, my name will be glorified, and you will be remembered as the one who sowed peace, hope, and faith where there was silence. Son, what I promised you has been fulfilled. What I began in you has reached its point of fulfillment, and now the cycle is complete. But in my kingdom, every ending is merely the birth of a new beginning. What seems like an end in your eyes is transition in mine. What you call completion, I call continuity. The promise has been fulfilled, the purpose has matured, and now a new phase begins. The time of spreading, of growing, of living in constant plenitude. The first cycle was one of liberation, the second of faith, the third of harvest. And now, this is the cycle of expansion. Your spiritual life has reached the point where you no longer just receive, now you generate. The deposit that descended upon you does not end when it manifests. It multiplies with each act of obedience. Everything you have learned so far will become a tool for the new era that is dawning today. I tell you, son, the old cycle ends with honor because you remained faithful. You passed the test, endured the silence, overcame fear, and chose to continue believing. And because of this, what was a seed within you now becomes a tree. What was a promise becomes an inheritance. What was a process becomes a testimony. You were forged in fire to now live in light. The season of waiting is over, and the season of fulfillment has begun. But remember, I am a God of movement. Faith never stands still. The Spirit never ceases. When I close one stage, it's because I've already prepared another. There are new people to reach, new words to release, new paths to tread. I take you to deeper levels because I trust you. Don't fear the new. It won't come to scare you. It will come to expand you. I don't take you from a place of peace. I launch you into a place of purpose. And the purpose is always growth. Look around and you'll notice the environment has changed. Your perception has changed, the way you feel. My presence is more mature, more stable, more intimate. You no longer seek me just for what I can give, but for who I am. This is the true mark of spiritual maturity, when love becomes the reason for everything. The love that brought you here will be the same that will lead you forward. The old cycle taught you to trust. The new will teach you to multiply. Before, you prayed to survive. Now you will live to overflow. Before, you cried out for an answer. Now you will be the answer. I made you a channel, and everything that passes through you will bless others. The flow will not cease, because the source is eternal. You have become part of the river, and rivers do not return. They flow, expand, and nourish. My son, keep this truth in mind. There is no turning back for those who walk with me. Even when I lead you back to old places, it will be with new anointing, new vision, and new authority. Where you once wept, now you will minister comfort. Where you were hurt, now you will heal. Where you were rejected, now you will be honored. The cycle that ends washes away the scars of pain, and the new brings with it the fruits of overcoming. Do you feel what's happening inside you now? This feeling of completeness and lightness is the seal of transition. You're no longer on the same frequency as before. Your spirit has adjusted to the rhythm of the new era. What was a promise has become a testimony, and the testimony will become a legacy. I didn't give you a story just to be lived, but to be told. The new begins when your heart is at peace, and your peace is proof that you are ready. Now, walk with serenity, knowing that you don't lose what you leave behind. You simply make room for what lies ahead. I am the God of new beginnings, and in me, every new cycle is deeper, brighter, and more powerful. Son, the old cycle ends, but my presence remains. You will not return to the starting point. You will return with wisdom, with anointing, with peace. This is the harvest of those who remain. The cycle completes, but the movement does not end. Breathe, feel, and realize the new has begun now. And as you listen to me, I am already preparing the next chapter, because in me, every end is just the beginning of something greater. Son, listen carefully. The sky is moving again. The same wind that called you at the beginning of this journey blows again, but now with greater strength, with greater purpose, with greater direction. You are not returning to the beginning. You are entering a new level of the same movement. What once seemed distant is now coming toward you. The sealed storehouse begins to manifest visibly. All that is prepared in the invisible is being released upon you at this moment. I move the heavens because of your faith. I move the times because of your obedience. You think I merely lead you, but in truth, I dance with you within the purpose. With each step of trust you take, the heavens respond with movement. And now, my spirit begins to breathe upon areas that were dormant. Ancient dreams, forgotten callings, buried gifts, all begin to rise again. The heavens move, and what seemed still comes to life. Son, my movement is constant, but not everyone perceives it. There are those who pray and doubt. There are those who ask and don't wait, but you chose to believe. And so, this wind reaches you. It doesn't come to destroy, it comes to reposition. It removes what is heavy, carries away what is excess, and brings what is essential. Do you feel it? It is the sound of realignment. What was scattered begins to unite. What was distant begins to draw closer. Your faith created the environment for heaven to act again. When the sky moves, nothing stays the same. I reposition people, alter circumstances, and restore paths. Things that seemed slow will now happen in sequence. You will see doors open effortlessly, answers arrive naturally, and signs emerge where there was once silence. Because the time for stagnation is over. Heaven is no longer watching, it is intervening. This new movement is different because now you are prepared. In the beginning, you doubted. Now you trust. Before, you asked. Now you decree. Before, you hoped. Now you experience the fulfillment. The maturity of your faith has created an open field for supernatural action. And I tell you, what is coming now is acceleration. Everything that was promised will begin to unfold rapidly because your spirit has already learned the rhythm of heaven. Don't fear what you see moving around you. Every change that comes is part of the expansion. I am shifting pieces, rewriting connections, undoing old bonds and building new ones. It's not chaos, it's divine reorganization. When the heavens move, nature must adapt. And you, who are now in tune with me, will feel the lightness of knowing that everything is under control. Son, take a deep breath. The wind blowing now is the same one that parted the sea for Moses, the same one that brought life to Ezekiel's bones, the same one that descended at Pentecost. It is the wind of renewal, the sound of a new beginning, the sign that heaven has not stopped. I continue working, and your story is still being written. Don't look back with longing, look forward with confidence. The best is yet to come. Your faith didn't spark a single movement, it sparked an eternal cycle. I move where there is trust, and your trust draws me. As you listen to me, heaven continues to act. As you breathe this peace, I prepare new beginnings. And when you return to this place of listening, you will find new answers, because the flow will never cease. This is the time of reciprocity. The heavens move because you moved first. Your surrender awakened the divine movement. What was once a promise is now an answer, and what was once a prayer is now fulfillment. Everything is falling into place. Everything is coming to completion. Now confirm your faith with a visible act, like this message, and subscribe, because I will continue to guide you. Every word released here will be an extension of my movement in your life. The wind has not stopped, it has simply changed direction, and now it blows directly in your path. Son, the heavens are moving toward you, and nothing can resist this wind. The cycle begins again, the purpose is renewed, and the promise lives on, the same. God, who began, is at work again, and what was the end now becomes the beginning of something even greater. Son, heaven is already moving, and now it is your turn to respond. There are times when I speak, and there are times when man must respond with faith. This is one of those times. The flow has already been activated, the wind has already begun, but now I want to see your agreement. Heaven has moved toward you, and I invite you to do the same. Take a spiritual step, a visible gesture that declares to the universe that you are ready to receive. You are not just hearing a word, you are part of a divine transaction. The heavenly deposit is released, and I ask you to receive it with active faith. The gesture is simple, but the impact is eternal. Now comment, I receive the heavenly deposit. These words aren't just letters, they're keys. They open portals of manifestation. They tell heaven that your house, your mind, and your heart are ready. When you write, you're saying, I accept what the Father has prepared. There is power in declarations. Everything I created with words, and everything I desire to release upon you depends on your word of agreement. When you say, I receive, you enter into the same rhythm as heaven. Faith ceases to be merely an expectation and becomes reality. This is the moment when the invisible becomes tangible, when the spiritual becomes concrete. Each time someone declares with faith, the deposit moves toward their life, touching areas that were dormant and awakening gifts, finances, relationships, and purposes. Son, I want you to know that the deposit is not just material, it is spiritual, emotional, and also physical. It represents everything heaven has already prepared for you. Strength where there was weariness, direction where there was doubt, provision where there was scarcity. When you say, I receive, you are opening the doors of your soul so that all this can flow freely. Do you see the difference? Before you waited, now you receive. Before you asked, now you possess. This change is a symbol of the maturation of your faith. The son who once begged now declares with authority. Heaven recognizes this voice. It is the voice of one who understands that he is an heir, not a beggar. It is the voice of one who knows that the Father fulfills what he promises. Write with faith, even if you feel doubt. Doubt is human, but obedience is divine. When you obey, the Spirit overcomes fear. Every word you write with faith becomes movement. When you write, "I receive the heavenly deposit," your declaration becomes a decree, and heaven reacts immediately. Angels move, blessings align, and the flow increases. Do you see? The atmosphere changes when there is agreement. There is a new anointing being released now. It's the sign that the deposit has begun to pour out upon you. Do you feel the lightness in the atmosphere? Do you feel the gentle warmth in your chest? It's the confirmation of the Spirit. I am filling you again, not because something was missing, but because the new cycle demands a new measure. The faith that brought you this far was sufficient for the past, but what lies ahead requires even greater fullness. So, son, answer now. Don't put it off. Write with faith. I receive the heavenly deposit. Your every word is a prophetic act. You are telling heaven that you are available, awake, prepared. You are saying, "What comes from above, I accept. What is divine, I welcome. What is eternal, I retain." As you declare, visualize the deposit descending upon you like a golden river, flowing gently, penetrating every area of your life. This river washes away the old and brings in the new. It restores what was broken, fills what was empty, and reignites what had faded. Your declaration is your anchor in moving. Son, this is the point of convergence, the moment when the cycle begins anew. What you say now will be heard again when the next call begins, for I will speak again, and you will recognize the sound. And when I say, "Son, this is the third time I have called you," you will know that everything has begun anew. But before that, confirm, "I receive the heavenly deposit." This phrase will be your password to enter the new flow. Keep it in your heart, repeat it on good days and bad. Because each time you say it, the sky will move toward you again. Child, hear my voice again. This is the third time I have called you. The first time you heard and doubted. The second you felt and hesitated. But now something within you awakens and responds. I have never stopped calling you. Since the beginning of this journey, my voice has echoed within you, waiting for the moment when your heart would open completely. And that moment has arrived. The cycle completes and the call is renewed. I speak not to frighten you, but to remind you there is always more. What you have experienced so far is only the surface of what I have prepared. I have led you on paths of faith, shown you the power of obedience, taught you to wait and multiply, and now I call you again, not to turn back, but to rise higher. The voice that calls you is the same that created time, the same sound that moved the heavens at the dawn of creation. It does not age, does not tire, does not fade. Son, I do not lose you in the midst of cycles. Every time I call you, it is because a new dimension is about to open. There is always a new beginning within every ending. My call is like the beating of an eternal heart, steady, steadfast, loving. When you listen, you are not just hearing a voice, you are being reminded of who you are, and you are mine. You have been chosen, sealed, and sent to live fully. Breathe deeply. Feel the air entering. Now it is the breath of the Spirit, renewing everything within you. It cleanses what remains of the old and fills you with the new. Each breath is a reminder that the cycle continues, that divine life never stops. I teach you to breathe again, to feel again, to believe again. This is the third time I call you, because heaven never gives up on its own. Look around, my child. Do you see the peace that surrounds you? Do you see how things silently align? This is the flow. It is the heavenly deposit now manifesting itself, responding to your declaration. You said, "I receive the heavenly deposit," and heaven responded, "I keep sending, for my flow is eternal. What began as a promise has now become communion." There is no longer a separation between the spiritual and the natural. Heaven and earth have met in you. This is the mystery of faith. The more you respond, the more I speak. The more you receive, the more I pour out. Faith is not static. It is a continuous movement between your heart and my throne. When you say yes to the call, the cycle begins again, and each new beginning is deeper, lighter, and fuller of my glory. Son, I call you again, not because I didn't hear you before, but because there are new layers of my presence that I want to reveal to you. There are secrets of the Spirit that only open to those who endure, and you have endured. Therefore now I lead you back to the origin, not to repeat, but to expand. The beginning and the end unite in this instant. Time folds before eternity, and you are at the center of this encounter. Feel this moment. Everything becomes still. Your soul becomes a temple. Your breath becomes prayer. I am here as I have been from the beginning. This is the third time I have called you, but it will not be the last, because God's love is not measured in endings. It is measured in returns. And each return is a new invitation. So, my child, before you continue, do what I've asked you to do from the beginning. Take a deep breath. Allow this moment to reach your heart. Feel the presence, the warmth, the silence full of life. This is the point where everything connects, the end meets the beginning, and the cycle of grace is renewed. Because when I call you, it is not to end, it is to begin again. And when I call you for the third time, it is because you are now ready to hear what I have always wanted to tell you. I have chosen you, I guide you, I keep you, and I will continue to call you until your soul lives in complete communion with me. Take another deep breath, son. This is the beginning of something extraordinary.